His Excellency Ambassador of India to Kuwait, Shri C.B. George, has just paid floral tributes to Mahatma Gandhi at the statue which is installed at the premises of Embassy of India. His Excellency the Ambassador of India has arrived. We will now shortly begin our proceedings for the day. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of Embassy of India in Kuwait, I welcome all the participants both the ones who have joined us here in the auditorium and all those who have joined us virtually to today's event, Remembering Mahatma Gandhi, which is being held on the solemn occasion of 73rd Martyrs' Day to pay homage to the Father of the Nation. Before we begin the official proceedings of the day, may I request all the esteemed guests who have joined us here in the auditorium to continue to follow all the COVID-19 related guidelines, especially social distancing and wearing of your respective masks properly throughout the program. I thank you for your cooperation in this regard. Without further ado, may I now request the following dignitaries to come to the dais for the traditional lamp lighting ceremony. His Excellency, the Ambassador of India to Kuwait, Shri Sibi George, Madam Joyce Sibi, Deputy Chief of Mission, Shri Raj Gopal Singh, Mr. Abdul Rasool Salman, President of Kuwait Arts Association. Please. Thank you, esteemed dignitaries. May I request you to take your respective seats in the auditorium while I request His Excellency, the Ambassador of India, to come to the podium and deliver his address, please.
Honorable President of Kuwait Arts Association, Mr. Abdul Rasool Salman, Mr. Muhammad Al-Khattan, who painted the portrait of Mahatma Gandhi, distinguished artists from Kuwait, office bearers of the association, Kuwait Arts Association, and also various Indian associations in Kuwait, members of the Indian Community Support Group, media representatives, ladies and gentlemen, a good evening to all of you. Today, we gather here on the solemn occasion of the Martyrs' Day to pay our homage and tributes to our father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi. I welcome friends from the Kuwait Arts Association who have joined us today in remembering Mahatma Gandhi, who decades ago attained martyrdom on this very day. I also welcome members of our community who are present here and also joining us virtually. I also welcome the members of the media for their presence. I would like to begin my remarks by thanking His Highness Sheikh Nawaf Al-Ahmad Al-Jaber Al-Sabah, the Amir of State of Kuwait, and His Highness Sheikh Mishal Al-Ahmad Al-Jaber Al-Sabah, the Crown Prince of the State of Kuwait, for hosting the large Indian community in Kuwait and also for their leadership in strengthening our bilateral relations. Our community in Kuwait of around 1 million brothers and sisters are widely respected and loved by all sections of the society in Kuwait. The admiration and affection garnered by our community is a testimony to the Gandhian values and ethos of peaceful and harmonious coexistence that we as Indians continue to follow and abide by. Dear friends, today we remember Mahatma Gandhi, our father of the nation. On Martyrs' Day, we also recall the heroic sacrifices of all those great women and men who devoted themselves towards India's freedom and well-being of every Indian. Gandhiji is an immortal, universal treasure whose life actions, values and principles and words of wisdom continue to be followed by billions of people across the globe. In today's turbulent and challenging times, it is imperative that we remember Mahatma Gandhi and imbibe his noble thoughts, emulate his teachings, and follow the peaceful path he had shown us. Recalling his struggles in 1893, standing in front of thousands of Indian laborers in South Africa, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, a young lawyer those days from India, said, "There are several causes for which I am ready to die for, but there are no causes for which I am ready to kill for." This was a vow of non-violence in body, spirit, and mind. It is with this weapon of non-violence Mahatma Gandhi won India freedom, a freedom that we continue to cherish in India as the world's largest democracy with a 900 million electorate. Non-violence is a philosophy evolved over several centuries in India. It is part of the conscience of Indian life and society. Non-violence is not a weapon for the weak. It is a weapon for the strong. It requires greater heroism than of the bravest soldiers. It is the expression of the deepest love for all humans, including one's enemies. It is not only the lack of physical harm towards others, it also lacks hatred and ill will towards them. Non-violence is not running away from the challenges one faces. It is not running away from our responsibilities. It is facing these challenges with courage and discipline. In a world dominated by violence and hatred, Mahatma Gandhi reincarnated the Indian concept of non-violence. His example influenced and inspired many later freedom struggles. I recall the words of Martin Luther King Jr., who said, "Gandhiji was inevitable. If humanity is to progress, Gandhi is inescapable. He lived, thought, and acted, inspired by the vision of humanity evolving toward a world of peace and harmony." Unquote. He continued to inspire millions across the world. His catchwords, "now or never," "do or die," continue to evoke fear in the minds of oppressors. His famous words, "an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind," remains a guiding principle for humanity. It is in recognition of this contribution that in 2007, the United Nations General Assembly unanimously adopted a resolution to observe October 2nd every year as the International Day of Non-Violence. Gandhiji said, "My life is my message." He was one of those who spoke as he thought and acted as he spoke, one of those few on whom no shadow fell between word and deed. His words were deeds, and they built a movement and a nation and changed the lives of countless individuals. He gave us a talisman, which everyone who holds any public office needs to remember every day. He said, and I quote, "Whenever you are in doubt, or when the self becomes too much with you, try the following. Recall the face of the poorest and the most helpless man or woman whom you may have seen, and ask yourself if the step you have contemplated is going to be of any use to him or her. Will he be able to gain anything by it? Will it restore him to a control over his own life and destiny? Then you will find your doubts and yourself melting away." Unquote. This should be a guiding principle for each one of us, particularly during this COVID-19 crisis, when we regularly come across many who need support and guidance. Gandhiji also laid a lot of emphasis on self-reliant, self-sufficient villages. This idea has special relevance today, as India has now charted on a vision of building a self-reliant nation, Atmanirbhar Bharat, and turning Gandhiji's dreams to reality. COVID-19 pandemic has taught us a number of lessons, and one among them is to be self-reliant. I am proud of the fact that we in India has risen to the challenge and have fared admirably. Our industrialists, technologists, innovators, scientists and researchers worked untiringly during the pandemic, manufacturing thousands of products from ventilators to PPE kits, from medicines to vaccines, to finished products in a variety of areas, and have kept our flag flying high. Today, India has come forward and supplying vaccines to many countries across the world. Today, world is reiterating its acknowledgement of India's credentials as the pharmacy of the world. Dear friends, I am happy to receive this portrait of Mahatma Gandhi today at the embassy. This portrait is a beautiful collaboration between India and Kuwait, as the portrait has been drawn by renowned Kuwaiti artist Mr. Mohammed Al-Khattan, who is here with us today. I had the honor of visiting the Kuwaiti Arts Association and see the wonderful gallery there. I recall the warm welcome extended to me by the president of the Arts Association, Mr. Abdul Rasul Salman, who is present here today with us. We look forward to more collaborative efforts to connect the artists of India and Kuwait. In fact, people-to-people exchanges and connecting our cultural links is one of the main elements of our relationship today. In coming weeks and months, when we celebrate the 60th anniversary of our establishment of diplomatic relations and also the 70th anniversary of India's independence, there is much more collaboration we could do together. I once again thank you all for your presence and participation today. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you very much, Excellency, for those insightful remarks. I would now like to invite Mr. Abdul Rasul Salman, President of the Kuwait Arts Association, to the podium to deliver his remarks on the occasion. Mr. Salman would be delivering his remarks in Arabic. Our Arabic interpreter, Mr. Azizur Rahman, will translate it into English.
Aziz, how are you? بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. احنا اليوم الحقيقة نفتخر ونتشرف بحضور سعادة السفير الجمهورية الهندية والضيوف الكرام، ونشكركم على حضور هذه الأمسية.
We are today proud to be here on the invitation of His Excellency Ambassador Sir and our team. We are very much happy to be here.
طبعا المهاتما غاندي معروف على مستوى العالم، هو يعتبر أيقونة السلام والأب الروحي للهند. طبعا ساهم في كثير من الحياة الاجتماعية والسياسية، ووصل إلى مرحلة أنه صار عنده عدة اغتيالات في هذه المرحلة من حياته. واليوم احنا
Mahatma Gandhi is universally known for peace and social services, and he dedicated whole life for the improvement of society.
واحنا اليوم جايين ان نعزز العلاقات الثقافية والفنية بيننا وبين فناني الهند. وإحنا راح نبدأ بهذه العلاقة بإقامة أول معرض للفنانة والسيدة حرم سعادة السفير، إقامة معرضها في الجمعية الكويتية التشكيلية.
We are here to be part of strengthening our cultural relationship between the two countries, and this is the beginning of our these programs and establishment of strengthening partnership. And we held a program, art program, and in that Madam's portrait was displayed.
Exhibition
Sorry?
for hair.
No?
Exhibition for hair.
Yeah, portrait.
No, exhibition.
One exhibition held for Madam artwork.
طبعا في النهاية شكر للجميع وشكر في هذه الأمسية اللي احنا تواجدنا في هالمكان، وشكرا لكم جميعا.
I extend my thanks to all of you for being here. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Salman, for sharing with us your kind thoughts and for your vision for strengthening collaboration between the embassy and your esteemed organization, especially in the cultural domain. May I now invite once again His Excellency, Ambassador of India to Kuwait, Shri Sibi George, and Mr. Abdul Rasool Salman. And I would also like to request Mr. Mahmood Al-Qattan, the artist, who has beautifully painted this portrait of Mahatma Gandhi, which is a fitting tribute to Gandhiji on this solemn occasion, for the official presentation of the portrait to the embassy. Please. The dignitaries will also be paying floral tributes to Mahatma Gandhi. I would request the dignitaries to stay on their dais, as I would request His Excellency Ambassador to present a compilation of 150 messages of Mahatma Gandhi, which were done in the form of a book, bilingually, both in English and Arabic. Thank you, Excellency. Thank you, Mr. Rasool. May I request you to take your seats while I request Mr. Mahmood to stay on the dais, please. Let me briefly introduce the artist for everyone. Mr. Mahmood Al-Qattan. He's an artist in Kuwait Arts Association. He has participated in many exhibitions and art workshops around the world, both in Kuwait and in many other countries. During his participation, he has won numerous awards at national and international forums. He also coaches people in drawing people of all ages in drawing. So without further ado, may I request Mr. Katan to deliver his remarks, please.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. His Excellency, the Ambassador of the Friendly Republic of India, the Chief of Kuwait Arts Association, ladies and gentlemen, guests and friends. Mr. Suri visited us in 2019 in the Kuwait Arts Association. He suggested us to make a painting for Mahatma Gandhi. It was a great idea for me, as I love that great human. I was not able to draw that at that time because of travel, but I didn't forget to do it. And indeed, I drew a painting and sent it to Mr. Suri, where he told me, I thought you forgot that. It was a joy for me when the response from His Excellency, the Ambassador, when he visited us, and his request to meet me and welcome me and the embassy staff. I hope that the personality of Mr. Gandhi, whom the world loves, it is repeated all over the world and every year. I thank you all, and I wish everyone health and happiness. My wish is one day to visit the great India. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Katan. I request you to stay back on the dais. When I once again request His Excellency Ambassador of India to Kuwait, Shri C.B. George, to come to the dais to felicitate the artists as a token of our gratitude and appreciation. So, thank you, Excellency. Thank you, Mr. Katan. We will now have a virtual narrative of on the theme Remembering Mahatma Gandhi, Stressed with Peace, by Dr. Shobana Radhakrishna, an eminent Gandhian scholar and a renowned speaker on Mahatma Gandhi and his life.
Namaskar. I am grateful to all of you who have joined today in paying homage to Mahatma Gandhi on the 73rd Martyrs' Day, when Gandhiji gave his life for the cause of peace and harmony. Mahatma Gandhi's message of peace and compassion resounds with people of all faiths worldwide, as he is a spiritual and political leader of one of the world's most profound and complex cultural traditions. Gandhiji is the greatest apostle of peace the world has seen after Gautam Buddha and Jesus Christ. His notion of peace is focused on tolerance, forgiveness, compassion, oneness, truth force, love force, and soul force through self-suffering and sacrifice. Gandhiji's resonance and impact is felt across the world. Many world leaders have been inspired by him and continue to do so even till today. In all the countries, people have great reverence and respect for Gandhiji. The world today is faced with many kinds of conflicts, diverse types of crisis. We see Gandhiji's emphasis on universal brotherhood, peaceful coexistence having an all-time relevance. His teachings are therefore the most upheld principles. In fact, a true testimony of Gandhiji's teachings lies in the fact that mere good ends do not justify bad means. Today in the world, the emphasis is on human dignity and upholding the value of natural justice. There would be no better tribute to Mahatma Gandhi than to rededicate ourselves towards the cause of peace and mutual tolerance. On 30th January 1947, a year Gandhiji was assassinated, he had said on many occasions to his associates that if I get bedridden due to some disease and die, tell the world that I was not a Mahatma. But if I am on my way to the prayer and someone shoots me from in front and I face the bullets on my chest with Rama's name on my lips and bear no grudge against the person who indulged in this act, then and only then tell the world that I was a true devotee of God. Perhaps he had a premonition when, even 2 days before his assassination, Mahatma Gandhi said in his prayer speech that if I am to die by the bullet of a madman, I must do so smiling. God must be in my heart and on my lips, and if anything happens, you are not to shed a single tear. In his last prayer speech held on 29 January 1948, Gandhiji had said, I can only do as God bids. God is the help of the afflicted, but an afflicted person is not God. I have become what I have become at the bidding of God. God will do what He wills. He may take me away. I shall not find peace by going to the Himalayas. I want to find peace in the midst of turmoil, or I want to die in the turmoil. My Himalayas are here. It was his unique credit that, in a world marred by violence and hatred, Mahatma Gandhi stands firm as a man of universal goodwill and a protagonist of peace. What is most striking is that Gandhiji emerged during his lifetime as a torchbearer of peace, and even today, he continues to surprise mankind with his non-violent methods of resolving conflicts. What is stranger still is the resonance of success of his satyagraha that continues to inspire people across the globe. Nonviolence and the message of peace is a familiar word among the world leaders to settle any dispute. It goes without saying that it is never possible to evaluate how much India and the world owes to Gandhiji. For Gandhiji, peace was not an end by itself. Rather, it was only a sort of a means to ensure better welfare for the mankind. Mahatma Gandhi's lifelong quest was in the pursuit of truth. In fact, he even had said that truthfulness is more important than peacefulness. Non cooperation was one of Gandhiji's methods for achieving justice. Freedom and justice were supreme for Gandhiji. The Indian supreme values of ahimsa, or nonviolence, and compassion were the basis of Gandhiji's philosophy. Practically, he desired solutions for all problems through the means of nonviolence and truth. His ideas based on nonviolence are entirely important in the new world. They are completely relevant today and will remain so in the future as well. Gandhiji had said the very first step in nonviolence is that we cultivate in our daily life, as between ourselves, truthfulness, humility, tolerance, and loving kindness. He demonstrated that peace and nonviolence are the two pillars of any peace process that upholds the humanity. These two are inseparable. He said that for bringing full solutions, the means have to be nonviolent action or protest to settle a dispute through satyagraha. In the satyagraha, The parties concerned also understand one main fact, that there is not a clear winner or clear loser. When the conflict comes to an end, both the parties will have to be peaceful upon agreeing wholeheartedly to the terms of the winning conditions. And this is also the fundamental spirit of humanity. Gandhiji was always touched by the pain of others. The ability to feel the pain of others led him to compassion. Compassion coupled with daya or pity led to the spirit of service or seva. Gandhiji's first and foremost inner calling was to alleviate the suffering of others. This was the inner calling that he identified and invested in it, and serving and helping people to establish their self respect and dignity. He had a keen desire to restore the dignity of all human beings. This reflects beautifully in the shloka which used to be recited in the daily morning and evening prayers in Gandhiji's ashrams. Natvaham kamaye rajyam, na swargam na punarbhavam, kamaye dukkataptanam, praninam artinashanam. I do not crave for rajya, nor do I want swarga or moksha. I merely want to alleviate the sufferings of people. The greatest degree of inner tranquility came to Gandhiji from the development of love and compassion, non attachment, and non possession. The more we care for the happiness of others, the greater our own sense of well being becomes. Cultivating a close, warm hearted feeling for others automatically puts the mind at ease. This helps remove whatever fears or insecurities we may have and gives us the strength to cope with any obstacles we encounter. It is the ultimate source of success in life. Gandhiji's example demonstrates that as long as we live in this world, we are bound to encounter challenges and problems. Even during any difficult circumstance, Gandhiji did not lose hope and become discouraged. He faced the challenges with the understanding that it was not just him who was undergoing difficulties, but everyone was undergoing suffering. This realistic perspective increased his determination and capacity to overcome troubles. Armed with this attitude, for him, each new obstacle became yet another valuable opportunity to improve and overcome challenges. Gandhiji rose beyond his personal sorrows and joys and shared the happiness and sorrows of people. He became more compassionate and developed both genuine sympathy for others' suffering and the will to help remove their pain. As a result, his serenity and inner strength increased, as did his resolve. Gandhiji believed that the person who can control his emotions, his fears, his desires for revenge and violence will win every single time. Gandhiji challenged all people to develop their courage and compassion in their day to day life. In today's troubling times, the need to build a peaceful and inclusive society towards a more sustainable future is the pressing need. The values and ideals of Gandhiji are more important in today's context. Throughout his life, Gandhiji dedicated himself to the practice of truth, satyagraha, non-violence, compassion, and kindness. These principles, if embodied in our daily life, will help us address the pressing challenges the world is facing today. Although we may have differing views and ideals, the ability to understand and to live together is the only sustainable path for humanity. Gandhiji showed this through his trait of oneness with everyone and treating people with the utmost respect. He was certain that it was his duty to alleviate suffering. His heart was full of compassion and he took full responsibility for his actions. Gandhiji was extremely conscious of self respect but was willing to disregard personal insults in the interest of the community. He possessed limitless patience and discernment. He strove to lead a life of dignity, but at the same time, he was trying to cultivate the qualities of equality, simplicity, humanity, and to make these a part of his daily life. This endeavor to attain harmony and unity between the outside world and his inner life was a process that would continue all his life. In Gandhiji's personality, we see the true signs of inner strength in his compassion, which by nature is gentle, peaceful, and soft. But it is very powerful. He always remained humble and maintained a sincere attitude in facing challenges and worked resolutely towards a fair outcome. He expressed his views in public, in his speeches, and through his writings. In all the actions planned as strong countermeasures, he always told people to do it without anger or ill intent and asked them to recall their desire to practice compassion and assume responsibility for helping prevent the other person from suffering the consequences of his or her acts. Today, we have a unique opportunity to take the lead, open a new page in human history by learning from Gandhiji to address the global challenges. It is because our own human existence is so dependent on the help of others that our need for love and compassion lays at the very foundation of our existence. Therefore, we need a genuine sense of responsibility and a sincere concern for the welfare of others. Even after 7 decades have gone by since Gandhiji passed on, in every part of the world, his relevance is felt as strongly as ever before, and his visions and actions are of an enduring significance for all times and places. Gandhiji stands out as the champion not only of political democracy but also of economic and spiritual democracy in today's world. Gandhiji believed that moral degeneration is the root cause of all evils, including conflicts. For Gandhiji, the principle of satyagraha, or non-violent resistance and civil disobedience, was by non-cooperation with evil through the moral values of love force, truth force, and soul force through self-sacrifice and suffering. His belief and actions that social change for establishing justice and dignity of humans is both less harmful and more sustainable when achieved by nonviolent means stands the test of time. Mahatma Gandhi's environmental practices were based on conservation of natural resources, which were often misused and overused for the sake of development. Gandhiji had warned about the unsustainability on the global scale and had said that greed will be the main reason for the environmental degradation and the ecological crisis. He had predicted this a century ago. Equality for women within the society was a principle Gandhiji passionately believed in. His vision of Sarvodaya, the welfare of all, becomes very relevant in the crisis of internally displaced people and migrants. And he may well have kept in mind the very basic unit of human organization, a village or a county, while talking about Gram Swaraj. Gandhiji, Gandhiji's life provides an excellent role model of the ways of spiritual development in his crusade to oppose the unjust system. The techniques he crafted, like Satyagraha, and the strategies he followed in his public life give us insights into how spirituality can be applied to improve human condition in today's world. The applications are not India specific but universal. Decades ago, stress was classified as epidemic of modern life. The Gandhian way of life is the best guide to practicing the coping mechanism that induces relaxation, calmness, inner peace, absence of anxiety, and remaining positive. The Gandhian principles of freedom from fear and care for all are a perfect prescription in these times of crisis. Gandhiji's emphasis on healthy lifestyle, positive thinking, prayer, meditation, chanting, and empowerment of self care and care for the community would make perfect sense in these times. 73 years after violence brought his life to an abrupt end, it is a life worth revisiting, for it carried in its chapters the mild but unassailable truth that peace is a positive force and that it can still move the human race away from darkness towards light. Mahatma Gandhi had declared, "Am I going to be silenced after my death? I will proclaim my faith even in death and speak from the grave." What was this faith that he wanted to proclaim from the grave? It was faith in truth that was God. It was faith in the goodness of all, as all are capable of truth. It was faith in the goodness of mankind. It was faith that despite the faults and upheavals, humanity would move towards goodness, because truth, that is God, is only interested in the welfare of its creation. I take this opportunity to thank the Indian Mission for remembering Mahatma Gandhi on Martyrs' Day. My special thanks are to all of you who have joined me online. I will end with the peace benediction in Sanskrit for the universal welfare, followed by Ramdhun. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayaha, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shantihi. Let all be happy. Let all be healthy. Let all experience auspiciousness. Let no one be overwhelmed by grief. Om, peace, peace, peace.
With this, we come to the end of today's event. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, everyone. A very good evening once again to all of you.